So I'll be talking about continuity and changing aspects of ancient megalithic culture of Jharkhand. So megalithic culture in Jharkhand, I'll be talking about the ancient megalithic archaeology of the region and the ethnographic parallel, which is in form of living tradition. And I'll be discussing about the ancestral sites of the present megalithic communities in the region and the recent burial monuments and the changing scenario in the present time related to rituals, typology, and the belief system of the megalithic people. So if we talk about the ancient megalithic culture, several megalithic monuments have been reported from the northern part of the Jharkhand and also from the southern and western part of the Jharkhand, which are typologically represented by stone slabs and menhirs, and they are quite identical to the typology of the megalithic community as well. So the background of research, the work was initiated by three colonial ethnographers, Valentine Ball, Edward Tutti Dalton, and J.D. Beglar in the region of Singhbhum and Ranchi district. In year 1872, they have reported few megalithic sites. And then in the early phase of 20th century, Dr. A.I.H.C. have dug some of the grave from the southern part of the Jharkhand. The sites were Khuti Toli, Sarigaon, Pokla, and few more sites. Then Panchalan Mitra have demonstrated few skulls from anonymous sites of Ranchi district in the International Science Congress at Indore in 1933. And the only excavation was carried out by Archaeological Survey of India, which is now Patna Circle, in 1965-66, which was the excavation of Khuti Toli, which was also previously dug by S.C. Roy in 1920s. In recent years, the members of INTAC Hazaribagh have reported several megalithic monuments in the northern part of the state. And archaeoastronomical aspect has been taken by the Subhasis Das in the northern Jharkhand, particularly in Hazaribagh and Chatra districts. And few more exploratory works has been conducted from the Archaeological Survey of India, Ranchi Circle, in the region of Khuti district of South Jharkhand, and in the region of Lohardaga district of western part of the Jharkhand. And also from the Department of History, Ranchi University, the faculty members and the students have done some exploratory work. And in presently, myself, I'm working on the ethno-archaeological perspective. I have conducted my PhD on that. And one of the students of Chhattisgarh University, Anshu Tirki, she is working on the comparative study of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand megalithic monuments. So on the left side of the slide, we have the divisional map of Jharkhand. So if you can see the cursor moving, the megalithic sites have been reported from Chatra, Hazaribagh, Lohardaga, Ramgarh, Ranchi, Khuti, Gumla, Simdega, and Western Singhbhum region till now. And during my PhD, I have documented 216 megalithic monuments from the district of Chatra, Hazaribagh, Ranchi, and Khuti, where most of the ancient sites were reported from the northern part of the study area, and the ancestral sites of the present megalithic community and some of the ancient sites are reported from the central part of the study area and the southern part of the study area, which is a Khuti region of Jharkhand. So talking about ancient megalithic in Jharkhand, they are typologically represented by menhir and subtypes of menhir, which are supported by lean supported stones. And you can see some of the typological variation within the sites and at the different sites. So these photograph belongs to the different megalithic sites of northern Jharkhand, particularly from Hazaribagh and Chatra. You can see some of the stone appendages were there to support the huge menhir. And even we can see some of the uh, distinction in the size of the megalithic monuments. Probably in ancient time could be smaller, could be raised for the different people who have some different sort of status in the society. And this is the site of Obra, which have the quite exposed surface, which shows the evidence of funeral pots with, and also typologically represented by menhir. And even smelting evidence is also there. We can see on the left upper corner there is a fragment of iron furnace, and we have also a lot of iron slag was also evident on the corner of the site. 150-meter west to the burial site, there is a habitation deposit which have given the identical pottery assemblage to the burial sites. And this is the site of Murve, which give the clear evidence of cremated bones within the menhir. And this ditch was actually dug by the construction workers. I think it is visible in the background. There are some construction work is going on. So these construction workers have dug this ditch to just refuse their food and other refuges. So because of that, this cross section below the menhir was exposed, and the urn was visible, which gave the evidence of cremated bones. And a few stone circles are also reported. The upper left corner is the site of Balko from Lohardaga district, which was reported by Dr. Harendra Sinha, who was the visiting faculty of Ranchi University. And some of the architectural remains were also used at different sites to make stone circles. And a very different typology. Actually, we can't say typology, but some of the architectural remains are used to raise the menhir at few sites in Jharkhand. And then in Ranchi district, we have the chambered dolmens at the site of Tetla, and the large menhirs, a large cluster of menhir at Balwadi. Then some of the exposed megalithic monuments I am showing from the site of Silidi in Ranchi district. So on the left corner, we can see the complete burial architecture, which was exposed due to natural site formation process, and also from some of the pots are visible due to some of the destruction by local people. And at the center, we can observe some of the multiple urn burials below the megalithic stone structure, megalithic slab. So talking about the cup marks are there in two patterns, irregular pattern and pattern of linear pattern, which also have some of sort of ethnographic belief system to all the ancestors, but I will not go on that because it is not a part of this paper. So this is the site of Kuti Toli, which was excavated by A.S.I, which is represented by slab burials. So out of 65 slabs, just 6 slabs are left now. And this is the excavated trench from the excavation of A.S.I, which gave the evidence of multiple burials in form of post-cremated forms, along with the antiquities of copper and bronze. And so all these antiquities are actually belong to the previous work of whoever have conducted the previous work at different sites. So most of the artifacts belongs to the copper and bronze artifacts, along with semi-precious beads, stone beads, and very few iron objects from different sites. So during my exploration, I also found some of the ritualistic pot from different megalithic sites. So, and these are very interesting incise design, which are very common from the northern part of the area of megalithic monuments till the to the southern part of the study area. So there was a little bit of continuity of ceramic tradition also probably in the region. Uh, so the ceramic assemblage of burial and habitation sites, so far 5 habitation sites have been found. So all these ceramic assemblages are mostly represented by bowls, dishes, basins, vase, storage jar, globular part of ill-fired, coarse to medium fabric, and they are plain redware and red slipware, whereas a very less amount of black and redware of coarse fabric was recovered from very few shards were recovered from 2 or 3 sites. And these are some of the storage jars. You can see then basins, dishes, then globular pot with laced rim, which is very common to the early historical period of the neighboring state. So, and all these pottery assemblies are comparable with ceramics of late phase of Kotia, which was a megalithic site of Uttar Pradesh, also Kokoria, and Raja Vishalka Garh, period 2, period 3, and period 4, which was tentatively dated by the excavator from 300 BC to 200 AD, and also comparable with early historic sites of Jharkhand. So coming to the living tradition and ancestral sites. So living megalithic tradition is practiced by Austroasiatic communities, predominantly Mundas, Hos, and Bhumis, who belongs to the same lineage and practice the tradition as a ritual of secondary funeral rites and other commemorative purpose as well. So during the colonial period, some of the ethnographic work was conducted by colonial ethnographers, and they have mentioned the traditional funeral custom of these communities, which was predominantly cremation, and very rare case of burial was there. And in 1955, a very important work has been conducted by M. Tokno, who have worked over the funeral custom of the Mundas of Ranchi Plateau, who mentioned about some of the variability also in the rituals of megalithic tradition. So I'll be talking about some of the ancestral sites of the Mundas. This is the site of Chokahatu from Ranchi district. This is the drone view which I have taken from one of my friend from Instagram who has the blog. So, and this is the enormous site of Marchadi, which is equally big to the Chokahatu. So we can see a lot of recent monuments and also some of the, also many of the ancient monuments as well. So we can see the typological similarity there. And talking about the funeral custom of present megalithic community, so I have earlier also mentioned that cremation was dominant way of funeral custom during the colonial period, which was documented by the ethnographers of that time. And now several clans of Mundas and Ho, they also practice burial. After sacrificing different animals, they offer rice, turmeric, mustard oils, coins, and they just, and in case of cremation, they rebury the cremated bones inside the stone slab or megalithic architecture. So this is the case of burial. So if we talk about the changing scenario, so what I have observed in recent time, the traditional way of funeral custom of keeping the cremated bones or keeping the dugout bones from the grave has been given up, and mostly now the symbolic effigy from the grave is constructed. And in the case of burial, if the effigy is constructed from the grave soils, it is cremated symbolically and it is buried as a reburial under the stone slab. So this actually shows the relic of cremation, which was prevalent in ancient time among the community. And this is how they raise the megalithic monuments. And in this case, also, this is from the case study of one woman from Kuti region. Uh, so you can see the symbolic effigy is also again reburying under the megalithic slab. And you can see the villages of the Mundas are surrounded by megalithic monuments, which are also commemorative and also related to funeral purposes. Stone alignments like double road stone alignments and single road stone alignments, and cluster of menhirs. And these megalithic monuments are recently discovered after the lockdown in Western Singhbum region. Actually, when I was working for my PhD, I have surveyed that region also to conduct a comparative study with a Go tribe, which are located in the Western Singhbum region. So I have found these monuments that time, but proper documentation was conducted in the November-December month of 2020. So you can see a lot of stone alignments are there in east-west and north-south orientations. And these are the megalithic monuments of Ho tribes. So you can see the changes in typology now. Like there are some concrete structures are also involved now in recent days. So the traditional typological structure is now given up slowly by the community. Talking about the quarrying and transportation of stone, so most of the ancient megalithic site and even the ancestral site of the Mundas have a very close proximity of raw material sources. So in southern part of Jharkhand, we have granite, and in the northern part of Jharkhand, we have both sandstone and granite. So you can see some of the chisel marks on the raw material sources nearby the megalithic monuments. Some of the ancient chisel marks are also there. And this is actually just my observation recently. I have observed that the granite have the property to split naturally through the time, through the by going through the different temperature, and also it split in layer naturally, and also because of fluvial activity it happens. And we can see some of the old chisel marks are there, and some of the fresh chisel marks are also we can observe here, which has been all the done by the recent people who were constructing small megalithic monuments. This is, so you can see the chisel marks. These are the recent ones. So talking about the mode of transportation, the traditional mode of transportation mentioned by the different scholars earlier, they mentioned about the wooden mechanism, which is called kaoli. Dr. Monta have worked over the funeral custom of the Ho tribes. So he have mentioned about the wooden mechanism to carry the stones. And I have also observed the similar type of wooden mechanism used. I also showed earlier that people were carrying the stone. So by making similar kind of wooden mechanism. And in case of bigger stone, they use this country cart, which is called sagar, to carry the megalithic stone. And in recent time, actually, this tradition is also given up because mostly the megalithic people are now trying to purchase the stone according to their economic status from the modern quarries. So this is the map of Jharkhand. I'm sorry, it is a little congested. What I want to convey here that megalithic monuments from the northern part of the study area have older pottery assemblies, which can be tentatively dated to second century BC to 2nd century CE. And in central part of the study area or the southern Jharkhand, we have the pottery assemblies, which can be tentatively dated to 1st century CE to 2nd century CE. And in the southern part of the area, study area, in the assemblies are belonging to 3rd to 4th century CE. And also we have the living megalithic tradition in the southern part of the area. So there was a very famous proposed hypothesis made by A.I.H.C. Roy that Mundas moved towards the Chotanagpur plateau from this western part of the corridor, and they finally settled down in the southern Jharkhand. And it is also mentioned in their cosmogenic legend as well. Even the artifacts are quite similar in northern part of the Jharkhand and from the southern part of the Jharkhand. And some of the copper ornaments recovered from the burial excavation of Kutitoli, they are quite common still now among the Munda community and Munda Bhumis and Ho community, and also some of the Austroasiatic community of the Odisha as well, like Sora community. What important is here, this geometric design, which is quite continuing from the ancient megalithic monuments of northern Jharkhand and continued to this corridor, and also some of the shards of similar geometric designs have been found in the recent burials, like around 54-year-old burials, and also on the ancestral sites of the Munda in southern Jharkhand. So if we take the pottery as a parameter to identify the culture, we can also say that there was a community who moves towards the south, practicing the similar megalithic tradition from the ancient time, and they settle down in southern Jharkhand. And probably they could have some ancestry with this the present megalithic building community, which are Bhumis, Mundas, and Hos. So these are the changing aspects of megalithic tradition. Nowadays, lack of traditional method in terms of rituals, grave goods, elaboration of burials, transportation of stones are given up by the communities. And most of the rituals are performed as in form of relics. For example, arrowheads are not found to be given in the burial as a grave good, which have been found from the excavation and also from the exposed section of ancient burials by previous researchers. And so that is also given up, and now it is just touched to the container or the pot which have the cremated bones or probably the symbolic effigy. So it is just touched to symbolically to the effigy or cremated remains, and before depositing under the megalithic slab. So this left side photograph is a photograph of cremated bones from different megalithic monuments, which was accidentally exposed in northern Jharkhand. So we can see the changes occur from ancient time to the present scenario. So we can see in ancient megalithic monuments, we have the evidence of cremated bones, and we have the ethnographic evidence in some part of Ranchi district of keeping the cremated bones under the stone slabs. And in the southern part of Jharkhand, it is a very general practice now to rebury the symbolic effigy. And this corner photograph is a symbolic funeral pyre, which was made by the authors of megalithic builders of present time, who symbolically cremated the effigy. And when I asked them why this tradition is performing, they said that their ancestors, they used to cremate. And even this question was actually asked around 200 villages during my ethnographic survey. And in most of the village, it was said that their ancestors were cremating. But nowadays, it is performed symbolically, and cremation is given up. And cross-cultural influence actually resulted as burial in modern days. So apart from the megalithic monuments related to funeral custom, There are some of the megalithic monuments also, which has been raised to represent different types of gods by the Mundas. According to the oral tradition, these stones are belongs to from starting from the left upper corner. This stone belongs to Guru Bonga, which is the benevolent spirit reside in the mountains. Then Ikir Bonga, which is a benevolent spirit resides in a water body. And it is a Hatu Bonga, which is a village god. And it is whenever a new settlement they are settled, such kind of structure are raised, and it is supposed that the village god is will reside in that. Then some of the megalithic sites, monuments are related to agricultural rituals, uh, related to the keeper of the cultivated lands in ancient time, and also for the malevolent spirit, like people who died, person who died during snake bite, due to snake bite, and the woman who died during pregnancy, and it's supposed to be turned into the evil spirit, and for the accidental deaths. So we also have the ethnographic parallel. Some of the oral traditions are also there about the older megalithic structure. And apart from that, nowadays now the traditional megalithic structure is mostly given up among the Mundas and Hos, also in Bhumis, and such kind of cemented structures are found in the southern part of the region. And also cross-cultural influence can be seen. If you can observe, here is a cross symbol over the stone slab, which was constructed among the Munda burial ground, inside the Munda burial ground. So, just to conclude, on the basis of above observation, it can be concluded that there was a megalithic building community in the region, uses iron, copper, bronze artifacts in their burial. Nature of the mineral remains, typology of monuments, and distribution pattern of burial sites indicate that there is a sort of ancestry of the present megalithic community in the region. As ancient sites are found on the one of the proposed route of movement of these people into the region of Chotanagpur Plateau. Oral traditions and ethnographic data says that few megalithic sites are raised, megalithic stones are raised for the different commemorative purpose, such as for agricultural rituals, gods, landmarks, fortune stones, etc. And the continuity of tradition of raising megaliths among the Mundas, Bhumis, and Hos seems to be deteriorating as many traditional elements lacks during the during the rituals, and many of them are performed as a relic. A tradition of reburial of cremated bones are mostly given up in the southern part of the region by the megalithic community, and symbolic effigy are buried under the megalithic monuments. And even the living traditions are also influenced by cross-cultural influence, as the advent of Christianity also affect that several people of Munda community have turned as a Christian followers. So we can see the typological similarity as a Greek, like a Christian grave can also be seen among the megalithic monument of the Mundas. So thank you very much. Thank you for the patience.